Hi, this is Scott Sackett. I thought it would be good to do a review of IDW's Artist Edition of John Byrne's Fantastic Four book. I've had it for a while, it's been out for a while now, but you can still find it fairly easily. If you're not familiar with the Artist Edition, what it is IDW gathers the original art for the various issues. It is they focus on a particular artist. It's a very art-centric series. Anyway, and so they get the art, they get the original art, and what they do is, I don't know if they scan it or they photograph it, but it's reproduced in this book at actual size. So this book is roughly, you can kind of tell, it's a really big book. If you're not familiar, modern comics are drawn on 11 by 17 comic boards, and so they reproduce the art at that size. So it's slightly bigger than 11 by 17. So so here's a cover here. You can see they did a real nice job of the design. Here's the fly leaf. I'm not sure what this art is from, but you can see it's drawn. I don't know if this is actual size. It looks a little bit bigger because you can see from the marks on the page. But they did nice. There's nice little designs. And then here, I'll back up so you can see. And again, this is printed. Again, I'll put my hand on there so you can see it's really large. Nice thing is, I'll zoom in on this. You can see all the details in the ink work and stuff. It's really nice. As an artist, I find this really, and a big John Byrne fan, I find this really nice to see his artwork reproduced at actual size. This is the first issue that John Byrne did. It's issue 232, and they had the entire issues on these. And again, you can see, I say the first issue he did. This is the first issue he wrote. He drew a couple before he started writing the book back in the 80s. This is probably one of my favorite issues of his run. A really key issue. Got some nice stuff here. One of the nice things, I'll focus on this a little bit, is you can see, let me make sure I can, you can see this. You can see how all the little details, and you can see here, I'll point this out, you can see that it's probably a little easier to see in the actual book, but you can see how some of the how the ink didn't fully cover it, so you can kind of tell how he drew them. You can see right there in the cape, in Diablo's cape, you can see, and so it's really nice. This is almost, I would consider this the equivalent of having the original art. The reproduction is that good in the book. You can see, like in this issue, there's some dirt effects, and if I really zoom in, you can see that it's where he drew it and he inked it, and then he put a white, at the time it would have been zipatone over it to kind of knock it back. So you can tell, see some more zipatone there on this guy's shirt. And looks like a kind of a smudge texture he used to get that rock. Again, you can see all the little details that you kind of miss in the comic, especially in the final comic where it's colored. Oh, again, right here you can see how he did this dirt effect. This monster shoots this dirt on Susan Storm. She turns invisible, and he's chasing her. She's trying to get to her flare gun, and so he throws this dirt on. You can see it's like he smudged the ink with something like a paper towel or something to get that effect. A really nice effect. Same thing right here, you can see. In a finished book, you couldn't really see that. Here's some more halftone. Okay, that's 232. This book is pretty thick. Not sure how many issues are represented in it. Doesn't say. Oh, it says it's originally published in, it's 232, 238, 241, 243, 247, 261, and What If 36. Oh, right here, I could look on the table of there's the table of contents. so you can see. And so they don't go. You can't really read if you're thinking this is like an oversized trade paperback. It's not really that way. Here's some nice detail on the buildings. You can see John Byrne was known back in the day for doing these real nice effects, and a lot of it started when he was on X-Men, and Terry Austin was inking him. But really, if you look at this Fantastic Four stuff, he really, where he was inking himself, he really did a good job on that. I love these effects. And how he did this crowd, if you look at it, and then I'm zoomed way in, it's really just little squiggles almost. But when you pull back, it's just so effective. And so if you're a John Byrne fan, or if you're a fan of comic art, having a book like this that kind of breaks it down. It doesn't break it down, but you can see, I mean, like here's some more detail, just all that detail in Mr. Fantastic's hand. And again, you know, that'll give you an idea about how big it is in real life. But just that, all those little textures he put in, little detailing and thing, just the stuff to make this stuff look so interesting. As an artist, I find this stuff so inspiring. Again, using some Zipatone there to get Mr. Fantastic's, get that shading under. Okay, let's see, that's issue 232. Nice background here. You know, a lot of detail. He's breaking into the sub shop, and they've got a mannequin hanging from the ceiling. You know, and again, that panel's probably the size of my palm. It's got a lot of nice little detail. John Byrne was really good, and still is, in my opinion, real good at drawing this kind of stuff, where it's just kind of a almost like a vignette, and there's just enough detail in there to really make it look good, really kind of make it pop, and so you kind of see what's going on. Again, nice water effect, and he used the white Zipatone to kind of knock that back, so you get this even in the black and white artwork, you get this feel of this water jumping over. It's going to drown the thing, or attempt to drown the thing. Again, another panel here, just some great artwork of that. It looks like a portable generator of some sort with the tires, which is really nice. And again, if you look, it's all just a bunch of gibberish, but it looks really good. It's really pretty. Again, right here on the bottom of the car, you know, there's just enough there to where it looks like a car. But again, it's, you know, it's a pretty small size, but it's almost. It's not detail, it's more like a texture. Okay, let's see, it's 232. This is issue 238 right here. This is the first one with Nova, I believe was her name. There's Frankie Ray and the Human Torch's girlfriend for years, and kind of found out she had superpowers of her own. John Byrne gave her superpowers. Again, you know, nice texture on thing, kind of nice, and again, that's the deal about this. You can see where he brushed it, and it's at the scale that he drew it at, or he inked it at, and so you can see how he did it. Maybe not how he did it so much as you can see what he actually did on the page. Sometimes in the comic, it's a little hard to see. Here's a nice little texture, or a nice little effect. You know, they're in the room. There's a full page spread. You know, they're in her apartment, and then right there through the doorway, you see just a little hint of a stove, and then there's a radiator. And that's about all. It's just enough detail to give like that part of the picture a little bit of texture, so it doesn't look like it's just abandoned. Again, same thing for this pillow. You know, he could have just drawn a pillow, but he drew a little fringe, put a little shadow on there to make that character pop off. Really nice work. And again, a lot of this is detail that you don't see. Like this is nice. So you can see she pulls up her robe sleeve, and you can see that wrinkle. And if you look at it real close, it's obvious he just brushed it on, but then when you pull back, you get that effect of it wrinkling up. It's really nice. When you look at this stuff, and this is some of my favorite comics. And John Byrne's my favorite artist probably of all time. But when you look at the final comic, you miss some of this detail. It's like you see it, but you don't see it. Like here, man, all this roof detail, the Human Torch flying off the roof. And again, you can see this really small. I'm zoomed really in on this thing. John Byrne really had a knack for putting all this stuff in there. Just really nice. Like I said already, I find this stuff very inspiring. Okay, there she goes. Let's see. Again, more, machinery. This is what a lot of people think of when they think of John Byrne. They think of this machinery that he'd draw. Just phenomenal. Again, the more zipatone stuff that you don't really notice when you're doing the comic. Here's an example of stuff that you see. You can tell when you look at this. You can tell how he drew this. He drew it and then he went back in and whited it out. Put white out. You may not be able to see it in the video, but there's white out. He drew the Invisible Woman in outline form, and then he went back and he put white out to make all that line dashed. Nice drawing of buildings. Very, very typical John Byrne kind of buildings, and evolution of Kirby's style of buildings. On the podcast, we talked about how Kirby drew New York, and John Byrne kind of had his own little, I wouldn't call it a shorthand, but kind of his own look that I think is very much in the Kirby tradition. It's New York, but it's not really New York. It looks a little too clean, a little too modern. This is 241. This is where the Fantastic Four go into Africa and they meet up with the Black Panther. Great shot here. I'll zoom back a little bit so you can see it. Great shot of an overhead shot of some kind of device that they're looking at, and they're saying, "Oh, it's right here in Wakanda." So we have to go to Africa. Get a great shot here of Ben Grimm dressed up as Indiana Jones, since they're going off into the wilderness. Sorry, another great shot. A lot of brushwork in there. Great. Oh, and right here, great shot of the I guess this is Quinjet taking off, and again, nice perspective. And like I said, a lot of this you really miss in the comic, but it's nice to have this book, and that's kind of what I wanted to review was the book. It's nice to have the book so you can see all this in detail. Sorry, I'm getting a sinus day going. Nice shot of the Thing fighting some of the Black Panther's people. Again, nice Black Panther, nice dynamic shot with his hands out. You really, when you see the work at this size, you really appreciate how much detail goes into it. Let's see, skip ahead a little bit. Let's see, this is 241 still. Let's see. Oh, okay, we skipped. It's 243 with the Galactus. Oh, here's a nice double page spread of Doctor Doom in Latvia. Zoom out, then I'll zoom in. You can kind of see. You can see all the textures, for example, in the roofs. Again, if you're interested in drawing comics, and if you're a John Byrne fan, I recommend this. If you're not a John Byrne fan, maybe there's an artist that you like, but it's a real nice. It's almost like an insight into how they, at least for artists, how they draw. Because like I said, because you can see detail. The reproduction on these pages is so good. It's almost as good as having the original pages. What's interesting to me, and I haven't figured this out, all the corners are cut. I can't decide. I don't know if that's as part of the reproduction process, where they laid them down and taped them down maybe to shoot them, or if it's maybe something that was done. I mean, surely the original art didn't cut off. And that's one reason why it jumps around, because they don't have the original art. They only do them if they can find all the original art. I think there are 4 pages in here that are not original, that were made off of stats. They're noted at the bottom. I may come across one here. Oh, here's one right here. It says 1 of 4 pages in the edition were not scanned from the original art. And this is one, and I don't know where they got this page from. It's almost as good as the originals. They don't do any partial issues. John Byrne, his probably most famous comic, or most famous period, is when he was working on the X-Men with Terry Austin, and I'd love to see an artist edition of that. One of the problems is in mainstream comics, when the original art is split up. Now nowadays when they work digital, I'm not sure how they split up, but back in the day, they would the inker got a third of the book, and the artist got, or the penciler, I'm sorry, got a nice smoke. Nice to see how John Byrne kind of handles smoke. You can tell he kind of brushed part of it. I'm not sure. John Byrne was really well known at the time for experimenting with different inking techniques, because this was the first book, the first mainstream book that he inked on a regular basis. But anyway, the pages are split up where the inker gets a third and the penciler gets 2/3, and they'll alternate between the front third and the back third. So in other words, like 1 month the penciler will get the front third, and this next month the inker will get, or the front 2/3. Next month the inker will get the front third. And the reason why they do that is sometimes you get pages like this, like there's an opening splash page, and so that way it'll either they alternate who gets the splash page, because a lot of times pages like this are more desirable. This is probably a fairly valuable piece if you owned it, or a page if you owned it. Anyway, they've talked about doing a nice, I'm not sure what rocket ship this is, but real nice looking there. I don't know if it's one of the Fantastic Fours. Oh yeah, it's got the 4 on it. Sorry. Nice Silver Surfer. Nice kind of a power cosmic effect for the Silver Surfer. But anyway, they've talked about doing an X-Men one, because that's the one that everyone kind of clamors for. A nice retelling of the origin. But the problem is, apparently Terry Austin has kept all of his original art from the X-Men run, from his X-Men run with John Byrne, which if you've seen, those pages now go for a lot of money. So he's sitting on a gold mine. I don't know if he's holding on to it for retirement or what. Oh, nice. Oh, I guess they went to the moon here. That is, I believe that's the Watchers. Oh no, this is after the Inhumans have moved to the moon. Kind of a little thing that John Byrne did, which was before the Black Panther issue. I want to point this out. Really nice thing here. It's phenomenal. And then you can zoom in there and you see how he put all those textures. It's just really nice. Nice rocket here. Cool effect. One of the nice things about is just the way that it shoots off in perspective towards the moon. Just really cool. Anyway, that kind of gives you a feel for what the book's like. Some nice debris. If you're interested, if you're on the fence about getting this, I highly recommend it. I don't buy a lot of real expensive stuff like this. I will if I think it's good, but I'm generally not. I'm not a guy that has to have all this kind of stuff. But I'm a huge John Byrne fan, like I said before, and so nice kind of detail on the helmet, kind of a little scuffing, nice wrinkles, good action. But anyway, like I said, I'm not a huge collector where I got to buy all these. This is the only one of these I have. But if you're a John Byrne fan and you're considering it, I 100% recommend it. Oh, here's some of the covers. I love this cover. This is a beautiful cover. It's kind of nice effects. Over here, this is a good example of what you can see on this. You can see the cover here, but then you can see like the the reproduction is so good that you can see the shadow underneath the lettering where it's pasted on the cover. Actually, this looks like it's pasted on an overlay because you can see where the overlay came down there. So it was pasted on a clear overlay. And again, that's I like seeing that because I kind of come out of the era of graphic design where a lot of that stuff was pasted up. And so it's definitely something that I think is kind of cool to see. Anyway, and some covers for some of the stuff that did not appear in here. A nice, I don't know what this was. I think this was a Marvel Age cover. It's John Byrne replacing the traditional monster. Anyway, again, that is my review of the Fantastic Four Artist Edition. If you think about getting it, I highly recommend it. It's very, very nice if you're an artist. If you just like looking at original comic art, I mean, it's like buying a page of, what did I say, like 6 issues of original art. It's stuff you could never own. It's really cool. If I had the funds, I would probably buy 2 of these and cut one apart to frame the pages. As it is, I like having one. I look at it often. Very inspiring. Anyway, again, this is Scott Sackett. If you like this, check out my website at scottsackett.org. Check out some of my artwork. I do a podcast with my friend DL called Better Than Fiction. We're on Stitcher, we're on iTunes, we're on Podomatic. Check us out. Anyway, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Bye.